Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Zimbabwe is a failed state. I've said this many times on this platform. And one of the reasons why we are a failed state is that we have got politicians who, instead of creating the economic environment that allows people to thrive, to create wealth, and for the nation to prosper, they are the ones who are deliberately keeping everybody, particularly the poor and dependent on the leaders. They've turned the whole Adam Smith wealth of nation economics upside down. In his book, The Wealth of Nation, Adam Smith argued, and rightly so too, that prosperity, that the nation should not depend on the benevolence of the baker or the butcher or the brewer for their meal. Those individuals should be incentivized to provide us with the bread, the beer, and the meat by making sure that they sell us those things and they make a profit. And the government's primary purpose in that wealth of nation is to create the environment where everyone can use their talent to create wealth. If you're a butcher, you sell meat. If you're a baker, you bake bread. And people will be trading and making everybody rich. But in a country like Zimbabwe, government has abandoned that role. Government is the one that is deliberately keeping millions of our people poor. And then they become the big, generous individuals giving hampers, maize seed, etc., to the poor once in a while. This is so wrong. And I think people must fight it, must fight to end it. Because we cannot have a situation where the nation is being kept deliberately poor for selfish political gain. Welcome to the program, Ben.
Good day to you and good day to our viewers. Thank you for joining us. This situation here reminds me of the hardship of 2007, 2008, thereabout, where we all know we had no commodities in the stores and the shops. And each time when we saw, a truck maybe carrying flour, mealie meal, sugar, you know, people were filled with joy and would run after the truck trying to find where exactly it's being offloaded and try and queue up. That was not normal, but people shared the joy of seeing that truck. And it can be likened today where when political players give small little donations, they expect people to be happy and excited about these donations. Again, this is not normal. In a normal environment, in a normal country where everything is working, you don't have to go through all that. It's there. It's normal to just go and get your own bread in, it's normal to go and buy your own chicken in. It's normal to work for your own provisions. But in Zimbabwe, the abnormal has turned to normal, which is not right.
Well, in the case of Zimbabwe, I think the emphasis on why is it that even those people who are able to work for themselves are not able to do so. In Zimbabwe, industries have closed. If you look at Zimbabwe in 1980, I think somebody came up with an analysis and said it was one of the few countries in Africa where we had industries where we were producing about 30% of what we consumed. We produced it internally. And yet now, even the food the people have to eat, a significant part of it is imported. Or people would starve. Zimbabwe used to have an agricultural sector where we produced enough to feed the whole nation and have access to sell in the region. We used to be the bread basket of the region. But since the land seizure by the regime that started in 2000, by 2008, Zimbabwe's agricultural sector had completely collapsed. And ever since, the country has had to rely on imported grain to feed the people. That is the tragedy of Zimbabwe. The regime has not created the environment that allowed people to prosper. Right now, during this Christmas period, many people know there is a lot of people traveling, particularly from South Africa to Zimbabwe, because they've had to find sustenance, a job, something they can live on in other countries. Because our own government has destroyed the economic means for the ordinary people to earn a decent living. This is what has happened in Zimbabwe. Our voodoo economics has made our leaders, our political leaders, the benevolent leaders, where even those in business know that without ZANU-PF protection, like the mafia style, they may be forced out of business. That's how corrupt the system has become. And meanwhile, by destroying means for the ordinary people to survive, they have made the ordinary people destitute. Here is a video clip of Margaret Dongo, one of the few ZANU-PF politicians who really have understood what is going on in Zimbabwe.
They have wrong priorities, especially the current government. How can you go and build an airport which services a few people, and the majority are the elite and the so-called investors? Look at the rural. I made you come to interview me because I wanted you to have the experience of the roads that we are using. If we go today to our hospital there, you feel pity with that's a hospital in a rural area. If we go to our clinic, you feel pity. We have no piped water here. Do you know the reason why the rural people vote for ZANU-PF? One, they're intimidated. Two, the policy is that the rural people should remain poor and subservient to the government. They should remain poor because if they remain poor, they continue singing the song for their master. This is why these people have been impoverished. It's for a reason. Because at the moment, if you economic empower these people, they'll go out of hand. ZANU-PF will never have control over them.
That is the truth. How is it possible that in this day and age, somebody would call a mud hovel like that their home? And yet, that is the political reality in Zimbabwe. About 60% of Zimbabwe's rural people stay in the rural areas, and many of them have a mud hut. And the ZANU-PF proxies, in the form of the headmen, the chiefs, the war veterans, and the party militia, keep harassing these people. One thing that I've said and needs to be said here is that the ordinary people are denied ownership to anything. Adam Smith talked about the economic empowerment means giving people title deeds, property, to own property, making sure that the laws function, and so forth. To the rural people, the one thing they need desperately is title deeds to even 1 acre of land. Give them the title deeds and they will have the confidence and the financial and economic incentive to build themselves a decent home. The white regime before independence refused to give people, the rural people, title deeds. The land in the rural areas was owned communally. That's why it's called communal areas, or sometimes called tribal trust lands. It was held in trust. No one in particular owned it. And this was done deliberately. The white regime did not want to economically empower the blacks because they feared that an economically empowered black person would next want political power too. And when ZANU-PF took over, they too have stubbornly refused to give people title deeds, even 1 acre of land. And the irony is, they, the political leaders themselves, own hundreds of square kilometers of farms, multiple farms for some of them, and they have title deeds. We have a serious problem in Africa. We poverty, and it's man-made. Our leaders believe that they can only enjoy political power by keeping the people reduced to nothing more than medieval serfs. This is the tragedy in Africa.
I mean, no doubt 2025 has seen a huge leap in handouts. I mean, we have seen cars being distributed like no other previous year. You know, basically it was go and see Victor or ZANU PF, giving all manner of leagues and associates, and there were so many cars given. And then you look at the ratio at what were the people given in, as well. People were given a total of 10 ambulances to share across the whole country, and then you look at the ratio to say, how does that work? And apostolic faith, they were invited for Sapatina at State House, and that kind of thing. Food hampers, we first have to go and register with the chiefs and so forth in the rural areas. And when you think you're done, that it is just ZANU PF, you find out that the opposition, Nelson Chamisa, has been doing the same thing. He's been attending everybody's funeral, singing and dancing in the rural areas. All this is not normal, because all this does not add any value. You're basically no better than what you were before he came. Handouts have never built any nation. You do not move forward. You do not improve by handouts. Handouts actually show that there is something that is wrong. Like I mentioned before, if you cannot afford yourself or afford to pamper yourself with a packet of or a box of chicken and chips, then something is not right somewhere. If you are a normal, working age citizen, and you cannot afford that for yourself, there's something wrong. And clearly, we know there's something wrong with Zimbabwe. That is why we have always said Zimbabwe is a failed state, because over 90% of people are unemployed. So government and even the opposition have realized that the people are poor, and to get their minds off the reason or who is to blame for that, let us get them excited by giving them free hampers. Let us get them excited by giving them a free cup and a free plate. You're not fixing the problem. You are only just suppressing it. And once you start going the route where you have to bribe and, pay your way out of certain situations, it does not stop, because the problem is not being solved. So I bet we are going to be seeing more of 25 in 2026. There's going to be more and more cars, because already they had a target of 700 cars that they were supposed to give to the army, and they gave, I think, maybe about 100 or so. So we should be expecting the remaining 600 to be coming in 2026. We are expecting more presidential schemes that have never materialized or realized any, profit or development community wise. So we are going to see more and more spending. And we're going to see that the country is not going to grow because, like I said, giving donations has never helped any country grow. People should be able to do the basics for themselves. What government is supposed to do are bigger projects that keep the country moving forward and growing even bigger. If you give me a car today, that becomes my personal car to go to my farm or to do my errands. There is absolutely no economic growth that is going to bring. So I think the problem here is Zimbabweans, have forgotten the main source of their problems. You can see online where people come out and thank the likes of Chivayo for donating 10 ambulances. But they forget that he was part and parcel of rigging the 2023 elections that denied them their fundamental right. That debate is ongoing. ZANU PF with their Sapatina giving away chicken and chips. Other people are saying that is a very good thing. Others are saying it is all nonsense. But that again, it is not normal for government to be doing such acts. You're not helping by spoon feeding people. What people need is for them to be self-sufficient. And that way they can also help drive the economy. As we're about to enter into 2026, I don't think it's going to be a miracle just because we have entered 2026 and everything is just going to be all anew. I think we're just going to see an increase of what 2025 had to offer, which is government giving away cars, the likes of Chivayo and other, gold mafia dealers. They will be spending even more just to keep us, quiet and avoiding to ask the relevant questions, the bigger questions that really, really needs to be asked. So I think we are where we are because of our own failure as a people to realize that all this here is not normal. It's just not normal.
Well, I'd like to give Adam Smith the last say in this. In his argument, the essence of Adam Smith is that economic wealth is not generated by us, the consumers, depending on the benevolence of the butcher, the baker, and so forth, but in making sure that those people are incentivized to make a profit. By the same token, we have to wake up to the reality that we have created a political system where the ruling elite are now incentivized to keep us, the masses particularly, poor and dependent on them. We will never prosper as a nation from handouts. That is a reality. That is a fact. And we should even be more concerned when millions are forced to have to leave the country in search of a living, because all the country's ability to produce wealth have been stifled by the ruling elite. And it is important here that we should understand that it's not just ZANU-PF who are doing this. The opposition, ever since they've been in power the last 25 years, they have done nothing to dismantle this dysfunctional political system. As much as the people of Zimbabwe thought they were electing the opposition to implement democratic changes to stop ZANU-PF rigging the elections and make them accountable to the people, the MDC CCC have not implemented even one token reform. And ever since the GNU debacle of 2008 to 2013, they have participated in flawed elections to give ZANU-PF legitimacy. And they've taken on the role and of also telling the people that they can depend on them, on charity. And hence, all this rat race with Chamisa having his own Zim charity and ZANU-PF and the regime having all these charitable organizations handing out, particularly during Christmas, they want to be seen to be handing out the poor hampers that will feed them for a week or two at maximum. And then the rest of the time, they are starving. People do not need handouts, even those in the rural areas. Give them title deeds to the land, and they will be able to do something with it for themselves. That message must be made very clear. I can tell you now that if people had title deeds to the land in the rural areas, even their relatives who live in urban centers will be incentivized to build a decent house, knowing fully well that even if they should want to leave, they can sell it. Why is the regime refusing them to give them title deeds? And why is the opposition saying nothing about it? They've been now on the political platform for 25 years. They've never raised that issue. Worse still, they have now been conniving so that even in the urban centers, getting title deeds to the land on which you are building your house is becoming a very difficult proposition. And this is why so many houses, some of them really decent houses, in places like Rua, have been demolished under the pretext that they were built without proper planning or without proper permission. And yet the relevant authorities watch these people build this house. Some of them are 20 years old. Why didn't you stop them when they were building them? This is all part of this voodoo economics, where the ruling elite are deliberately keeping the masses poor and powerless for their own selfish political gain. This is the fight that the people of Zimbabwe must wake up to. Zimbabwe is a poor nation, a failed state, because we have got a dysfunctional political system that is pushing voodoo economics when we should be pushing sound economic policies. Ben, do you want to give your closing remarks?
It is said that a lot of Zimbabweans out there have not yet realized that getting handouts is not to their benefit at all. It is almost like hush money to keep you guys quiet or occupied for a certain season, while the mass looting is happening behind the scenes. I mean, it's obvious, and it's for all to see, especially if you choose to see. We had a documentary by Al Jazeera, the Gold Mafia documentary, that highlighted how much we are losing a year annually in gold side deals. So if somebody comes and takes away nearly 2 billion of our dollars, money that is supposed to further the country, money that is very much able to remove us from poverty, if we were to inject it into capital goods and industrialization and stuff like that. And the same thieves would come back to us and offer us sapatina, chicken and chips. At the end of the day, it's a no-brainer who lost out big. So no matter how much of a handout we are getting, we are losing much more than we are actually receiving. Our hospitals are all but broken down. There are no medicines. The staff are poorly paid. The service is poor. Our schools, children are learning outside, especially now when we are in the rainy season. It's going to be very, very difficult. Our roads, I am told that only 37 kilometers of the Bulawayo Victoria Falls Road is open ever since they started working on it. I mean, the list is endless. The list is endless. We are not benefiting anything from getting handouts, and a country will never prosper through handouts. These handouts are simply bribes to keep us quiet or to keep us excited, whilst the real looting is happening at the back. We need to wake up to this realization as a country, as a people, that these acts of charity are really not charity. This is not love for fellow Zimbabweans. Because even if you get that chicken and chips today, I am sure that when you get home, your children are equally as hungry. And when you get up tomorrow, you still need something to eat. You still need sustenance. So we need to stop appreciating and making such loud noise out of these handouts as well. That way, the politician must know that no. These guys are no longer accepting these small little, goods. They are demanding accountability. So now we need to shift. If we want to grow as a country, we need to stop accepting small little so-called gifts and demand accountability. The whole cake is ours. Why should we get given a slice and they take the bigger piece? It is our cake. They work for us. We should be putting them in their place and not the other way around. And I hope that Zimbabweans out there can realize this. And upon the realization, I think we have a way out. You cannot solve a problem before you identify it. And right now, currently, the problem is us. We are failing to push the politician. We are failing to demand better politicians. We are failing to demand better from what we are being offered and more from what we are being offered. In fact, we are settling for far, far less. It's like we are really letting them get away with murder. We need to make our position known. We need to make our stand. And that stand must be today. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ben. I would like to give Margaret Thatcher the final say on this issue of real economics versus the voodoo economics that our political leaders have been forcing the nation to follow.
Countries are not rich in proportion to their natural resources. If they were, Russia would now be the richest country in the world. Angola would be very rich, and there are many other countries that have a lot of natural resources, but they have not had an enterprise economy to develop those resources. Russia has everything: oil, gas, diamonds, platinum, gold, silver, timber, marvelous soil, but has been poor. She's also, on the second point, got very bad environment, the Aral Sea. I remember going to one communist country in about the 60s and seeing a powder coming out of a chimney of brown gas, which of course is a nitrous gas. And I was absolutely horrified. I said, well, what are you doing letting that happen? The lungs of the people must be terrible. This is acid. You can't let that go on. Tact has never been my strong point, as you know. And it is the countries that have had the wrong system, which have not created the wealth, have not cared about people. Look at the other side. Japan, no natural resources. Switzerland, no natural resources. Taiwan, no natural resources. It is the political system which enhances the enterprise of the people and gives it a framework within which to operate, which will deal with this poverty.
In the case of Zimbabwe, we really need to put an end to this political system that has failed the nation, that has turned the nation, the majority of our people, into no more than serfs in the medieval sense of the word, dependent on the generosity of the corrupt, incompetent, and tyrannical ruling elite. We need to reject it completely. Thank you very much, those of you who were able to join us throughout the year, and I hope you'll be able to join us in the coming year, 2026. And I would like to wish you all and your families out there the very best. And for the country of Zimbabwe, I hope that 2026 will really begin to show the turn of events, that the country has turned the corner, that we are able now to focus on what really matters instead of blundering from pillar to post as we have done the last 45 years. Zimbabwe is not poor at all. We have got some of the best resources. including natural resources and human resources. We just have failed to put them to good use. I think we need to turn that corner. It is not impossible. The number one task before the nation in 2026 and 2028, and 2027 and 2028 will be to stop the madness of participating in flawed elections only to perpetuate the dictatorship. That is achievable, and we should work hard for it. I hope you'll be able to join us on this platform as we explore that issue, because we intend to push that issue. It is, in my view, the Holy Grail. Stopping ZANU-PF getting away with another rigged election in 2028 is the Holy Grail. Happy New Year to everybody.